Hi everybody, this is Bogus Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Neca Ultimate Michael Myers figure. So before we take a look at Michael Myers, let's take a look at all of the accessories that he comes with. Now, he does come with quite a few accessories here. Now, he comes with 2 right hands and 4 left hands, including the ones that are on here. I like how much blood are on these. I like how it also looks like it's dried a little bit. Like it's still wet here and it's dried there. That looks really awesome. Now, this is my big issue with the figure, is switching the hands out. These pegs are very, very thin. So let's try and twist that off. That is how thin the peg is. It is really short and thin, and I feel like if I put too much pressure on it, then it will definitely break. It is so hard to get these off. Like I said, I'm afraid I'll break them if I put too much pressure on them. So here is his weapon holding hand. And it's pretty tough to get on. Maybe if I turn him upside down, I can get it on a little bit easier if I don't stop fumbling with this. Oops, move my camera. Yeah, this was the hardest hand to get on. It's still not going on. You can see where I'm chipping the plastic a little bit, trying to get it on. Let me straighten my camera up here. Try to get this on here. Like I said, that is my big complaint with this whole figure. There. That was just one of the hands. Now, for his other hands, I'm just going to show them off and leave one hand on, because I don't want to have to go through all of that again. Well, 3 more times, I should say. He comes with this weapon holding hand, and it just has a little bit of blood on it. Doesn't have anything major. I do like how they sculpted the veins in his hand, and also gave it just a little bit of texturing detail. So the only thing you're going to be able to fit in this hand is probably the hammer. Yeah. Now that was another complaint I had, is his hands are really tight. And I ended up breaking his knife, which I will show in a second. Also, a hammer is another one of his accessories. And it is covered in blood, and it's really shiny, so it looks like it's really wet. And they did really good sculpting the handle. It feels like actual wood. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. Up next, he comes with just a relaxed hand. And it also has some blood on it, but it looks more dried than anything. But this is just a relaxed hand. And my personal favorite, which I suppose you could probably say this is a bit of a spoiler, is this hand where his fingers have been shot off. And this one just looks really good, like getting it up close there. You can see how it, like, tore his skin apart. Like, you can see the muscles in there, and the veins. Yeah, that looks cool. All that gory detail. You can see a little bit of the bone sticking up right there. And they used that really glossy, well, they just used gloss over it to make it look really wet and like it's dripping blood. Yeah, that looks cool. I mean, if you have a figure like this, you're going to want it to be pretty gory, you know. And now the task of getting this hand on here. I keep hitting my camera because this is tough. And it keeps moving on me, so that is also irritating. Okay, let me just stop the video right here and then try to get it on and then start the video. Okay, so I finally got this hand on. It took 2.5 minutes, but I got it on. And I didn't break anything, so that is a plus. So, for his weapons, or his remaining weapons I should say, he comes with a fire poker. It looks pretty good. It's cast in gunmetal and has a little bit of paint detail to it. It has a little bit of silver to it. Now, this is super, super thin, and it doesn't really want to go in his hand that great. So, you can kind of put it in like that, But I don't want to force it in because this is really, really thin, and I know I will break it if I try to force it in. The same thing happened with his knife, is his hands are really tight. And they're the kind of material where it just goes right back to how it was, like if you boil it. And that's why it ended up breaking. And that's why I don't want to break this, is I don't want to pry his fingers apart and maybe pry them too hard and then rip the fingers off, and then break this in the process. So let's go ahead and put a butcher knife in his hand. Looks pretty good. But on the back here, you can see where I had to glue it. Surprisingly, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would by gluing it. Now, what you do is you have to pry his fingers apart like that, and then slide the knife in there like that. It is a very complicated process. It's a good figure, but I definitely think like the hand pegs and the hands could have been a little bit better. Just a little bit of a softer material, that way you don't have to force it in there. So for his next accessory, he comes with this light-up jack-o'-lantern. And I want to say, like, Neca did a really, really good job on this. It looks like a real pumpkin. I mean, minus the mechanical bits inside for the light-up feature. But the sculpt detail and paint detail to it makes it look like a real pumpkin. And as you can see, the light does flicker, making it like it actually has light in it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I was going to leave it on during this review, but then I got to thinking I don't want to run the batteries down because I do not have any more of the batteries that go in this. It uses the really tiny batteries. So yeah, don't want to run that down. He comes with the Judith Myers tombstone. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Doesn't have a whole lot of sculpting detail to it other than the words that are sculpted on there. But it has a nice wash over it. So that looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put this right back here. But next, he comes with the human jack-o'-lantern head. And I just love this. Like, the hair is sculpted really nice, and then they did a white dry brush over it. And just all the blood on this. Because, like I said, it is a human jack-o'-lantern head. He carved a human head out. And yeah, that looks really cool. And it is, if you look up here, they did sculpt all that in. They actually hollowed it out. But as you can see, it is separate pieces. So that's why the teeth and the tongue and all of that looks so good, is because it's actually separate pieces. Although, I do think they should put like some sort of light up feature inside his head. That way you could have it light up. But yeah, it just looks really nice. Because it looks like the blood is dried on it. I feel like the blood should have been just a little bit darker. It's just a little bit pink. But not horrible overall. Let's go ahead and put that head back there. Let's go ahead and leave the pumpkin here. Or the jack-o'-lantern. Let's go ahead and leave it back there as well. And finally, he comes with an alternate head sculpt. But let's take a look at this one first. So this head sculpt looks really awesome. They did a nice texturing to the mask. And it looks really worn, like it's brown. Like it has some brown to it. And you can see his eyes on this one. And this mask is even more worn than this one is. And the eyes are blacked out. I like this one better because, I don't know, this one looks good, but I like this one because you can't see the eyes. It just makes it look more soulless to me, like there's just nothing there. So yeah, I definitely like this one better. Let's go ahead and pop this off. Now the head, it pops off really easily. Like, not easily to the point where it's going to fall off. But I mean, you know, it pops on and off pretty easily. Not in a bad way, in a good way. Now you do have to line the peg hole and the peg up here. You gotta make sure it's lined up there. It's lined up? Nope, that's not lined up. There. Now we have the alternate head sculpt on. Now taking a look at this head sculpt, it looks just as good. Though it has a bullet hole right there. And it has even more brown to it. And the face is still white. or the mask, the face of the mask, is still just a little bit white, but it is browning. Because as you can see on this one, it just had some slight browning to it, and didn't have as much wear to it. And this one is really brown, and it looks like it's falling apart. But yeah, I definitely like this head sculpt better because of the blacked out eyes. And the light from my camera is almost making it look like his face is completely white. So I'm having to do that, that way it'll show up. Now, taking a look at the body, there's not really much to go over. I mean, you know, the coveralls is what he's always had. I feel like maybe his thighs are a little big. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I feel like they should have slimmed his thighs down, though. Do they look big, or is it just me? It might be just me, but I feel like his thighs look a little big. But he has some nice wrinkles sculpted into his suit. Or not his suit, his coveralls there. And they are painted. The wrinkles are painted a really light blue. Kind of like a bluish gray. And he also has a little bit of brown wash over him. And it is slightly textured. Nothing major, but it's pretty slight. Like I said, there's really not much to go over with the coveralls. They're pretty bland. I mean, they are in the movie. I mean, that's the way it's meant to be. But there's really not much to go over other than that. And there are his boots. They have some nice sculpting. They have a wash of gray over them. And they do have some soles sculpted in. I don't know why, but I always like it when companies sculpt soles on the boots of action figures. I just think it looks dumb if they're like completely smooth on the bottom and don't have anything. I mean, these do have the square cut out of them, but that's where they put like the trademark and the year and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's about all to go over with this figure. The main thing that he comes with is all of the accessories. Like I said, he has a lot of nice wrinkles sculpted in. And the whole torso piece here is really rubbery. It's a plastic body underneath it, but they put this rubber torso over him. Maybe that's why it looks so big to me, is because it's rubber and it has like that far in. It does come out from the actual torso of the figure. So maybe that's why I think it looks just a little bit big. So now let's go over his articulation. So as you can see, he did have a swivel peg, but it's also ball jointed at the neck. So he can look up all the way, and he can look down just a little bit. The mask does hinder that slightly. He can move his head side to side. He has ball jointed shoulders that can move out that far. He has double jointed elbows. He has those odd looking NECA ones, NECA joints here. But he has double jointed elbow that can also swivel side to side, and it swivels right here at the forearm as well. And he has swivel wrist that can move up and down and side to side very slightly. I feel like maybe NECA should do ball joints instead of those pegs. I feel like ball joints would be a little bit better, and they'd allow for more range of motion. Of course, this one has more range of motion because he's missing 2 of his fingers. There's nothing there to hinder that. This one, he has all of his fingers, and it does hinder it slightly. And now he has a little bit of articulation here in the torso, but of course, since this is one piece, it won't move. He has ball jointed hips that can do a complete split. So yes, if you want your Michael Myers to do a split, then he can. He has swivel at the thigh as well. And I don't want to rip this piece right here. Since it is all one piece and it is rubber, I don't want to rip it by, you know, turning it very much. He has single jointed knees that can bend in that far. They also move side to side. And he has ball jointed ankles. Or is it? No. This is, he has a swivel and a rocker. So it can swivel up and down slightly and has a rocker. So, this is a 7-inch figure, but surprisingly, he stands up pretty well by himself. With these bigger figures, that always surprises me when they can stand up by themselves. As you can hear, his arm is very squeaky. So now let's do some size comparisons. Not a size comparison, that would just mean one figure. So now let's do some size comparisons. Let's scoot this back a little bit. So recently I just got into the NECA horror figures. I swore I wouldn't. I'm like, oh, I'll just buy one or two. And now I have, I think, one of every movie killer, except for Chucky. But yeah, I was like, I'll just buy one NECA. And you see what happens. I'm wanting them all now, which is typical of me. So here he is next to Jason Voorhees. I think this is... What Jason is this? This is part 4? Can't remember which Jason this actually is. NECA has made quite a few Jason figures. So there he is next to Jason. And then here he is next to the NECA Ultimate Leatherface. Now this is just from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I feel like they should be the same height. Leatherface is just a little bit shorter than Michael Myers. But I feel like they should be the same height. I mean, they're both 7-inch scale figures, but still. So, overall, I really like this Michael Myers figure. I just wish that the hands would go on and off a little bit easier, and he could hold his accessories easier. I mean, he holds them just fine, but it's getting them in his hands there's a problem, and that's why I broke the knife. It was because I was trying to get it in there, and it ended up breaking. Now, it might have been my fault for trying to force it in when it wouldn't go, but I figured it was made just a little bit better than that. So even though I do have that issue, I do think it is a really good figure. So, that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.